Yeah, it's live.
Okay, so go ahead. Go ahead.
Hey, hi, everybody. I bet you weren't expecting to see me on your screen. Lisa actually asked me to open this event up with a couple of words before I head out to the golf course with my buddy Mike Anton. I just wanted to share a couple thoughts with you before Lisa and Carol Anton take over the call. I recently finished reading a book, a great book by David McCullough, one of my favorite authors. It was a book about the Wright brothers, Wilbur and Orville, the two brothers from Dayton, Ohio, who were the first men to successfully design, build, and eventually fly a motorized airplane. They were very smart, very hardworking, relentless inventors and entrepreneurs who literally changed the course of history. As Lisa and I have been staying here with Mike and Carol in Hawaii for the last couple of days, it occurs to me, as it does frequently, that the life of an entrepreneur is very different from the life of a normal person. And those of you that have started Mary Kay businesses, I think, understand that pretty well. It can be scary sometimes being an entrepreneur because you always are, in a sense, relying on nobody but yourself to become successful. And it can be intimidating at times because there are, without question, risks involved in starting any kind of business, whether it's a small business or a large business, whether it's an in-home direct selling business or a bricks and mortar type business. However, it can also be the most exhilarating and fulfilling life imaginable. Now, the parallels between Wilbur and Orville Wright and their success in aviation aren't always exact, but when you compare it to a Mary Kay business, but they faced the same challenges that any Mary Kay beauty consultant or sales director faced. They had to put up with people who thought they were foolish for doing what most people thought was an impossibility. And throughout their careers, as they were trying to design this airplane, they had to learn new skills, and they had to observe the flights of birds, and they had to learn what others had done before them in designing simple airplanes while they tried to perfect their designs. And of course, they made lots of mistakes, and they had accidents after they started flying. But you know what? They never gave up. They never quit. They kept forging ahead, knowing that what they were doing was important and valuable, not just for them, but for a lot of other people as well. Now, one of the greatest things about Mary Kay as a company is that when you sign up as a consultant or when you become a sales director, you're never in business by yourself. There are always a lot of other people around you to help you. And I guess a perfect example is the fact that you've got two of the top national sales directors in the United States taking time off today to prepare a powerful little presentation that will help you end the month of September as best as possible. And that's the way Mary Kay works. You have a lot of people cheering for you. You have a lot of people trying to help you become better at what you're doing and become successful as a personal entrepreneur. So having said that, Mike Anton and I are heading out to play a beautiful golf course here on the island of Maui. I guess it might be considered a reward, you might say, for the fact that the two of us believed in and supported the ventures that our wives started many, many, many years ago, and always were backing them in their entrepreneurial dreams when they picked up their starter kits from Mary Kay 28, 30, 35 years ago and started working and building toward their dreams. So I wish you the best as you finish out this recruiting challenge that the company's put out for all of you in September. And I hope you guys all have tremendous success this month and as you move forward the rest of the year. So with that, I will turn it back over to the two superstars, Lisa Madson and Carol Anton. Bye-bye.
Okay, here we are, Carol. Hi there. Welcome, everyone. We are so excited to have you all on this call today. And my name is Lisa Madson. I'm an independent senior national sales director with Mary Kay. And we are over here in Hawaii together, and we're so excited to be on this call with you today. The first thing I want to do is I want to thank you for joining us this morning. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule. And if you are, you were asked to be on this call by an independent Mary Kay beauty consultant or by an independent sales director, I want you to take it as the highest and most sincerest compliment you could ever get is to be invited to be on this call today. Why is it a high and sincere compliment? It is a sincere compliment because if you do get excited and if you do decide to join her and to become an independent Mary Kay beauty consultant, then guess what? She will have to work with you for the rest of her life. So that's why it's the highest compliment that she could even give you. And so thank you for taking your time. And my friend Carol is here. So Carol, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're going to share a little bit today about our stories in the hopes of inspiring you to create your own, a little bit more about the career opportunity with Mary Kay and what's available and what you have to look forward to. The possibilities are beyond. And then just how our possibility thinking and good old-fashioned hard work created a future for ourselves that have brought us to this point today. So Lisa, why don't you share first?
Okay, great. I'm going to share with you my story about how I became an independent Mary Kay beauty consultant. And I actually signed my agreement in 1986. In 1986, I was married to my husband, the man that started off this call today. We were married for 5 years, and we are high school sweethearts. And at the time, we had 2 children. They were ages 1 and 3. And I was working 2 part-time jobs at the time. I was working as a secretary, absolutely loved it, loved my boss, loved the job I had. He would say to me, when do you want to work next week? I would go in whenever I wanted to go in. I had total freedom and flexibility. My husband was a Christian school teacher. And if you know anything about teaching, you typically don't go into it for the money, but you especially don't teach in a Christian school for the money. And that's what he was doing. And it was at Christmas time in 1985 that I finally had it. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired of not being able to afford very much for Christmas presents. And so I was complaining one day, which I liked doing back then, and I was complaining to a friend of mine, and she said to me, she said, you know, Lisa, she said, if I lived in Madison, Wisconsin, where there are malls, she said, I would go and get a job at the mall. So I went and got a job at my favorite store at the mall in January of 1986. I absolutely loved it. I loved going in. But the interesting thing is I look back on it now, I don't think I could ever go back and do that because I didn't find out until Thursday night what my schedule was going to be like for the following week, Sunday through Saturday. But I did it. I loved it. It was extra money. I got an employee discount. My kids were the best dressed poor kids in the world because I worked in the children's department. And that's where we were at. So it was great. But it was frustrating because they closed the store. And I don't know if you've ever worked at a place where you love it and all of a sudden things change. Maybe a new boss comes in, or maybe they sell it and it's a whole different regimen of people working there. Well, the store I was working at that had been around forever closed. It was closed. And so I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh. So I went out and I got another part-time job working at a different store. And it was very different than the nice department store I was going to. But it was money for Christmas. It was $70 a week, money for Christmas. They gave me a smock to wear. My smock had the name Vicky embroidered in it. If you caught my name today, it's not Vicky, it's Lisa. And it was just not a job I loved, okay? So I was approached to become a Mary Kay beauty consultant when I was out making photocopies for my secretarial job. All of a sudden, a pink car pulled into the print shop that I was at. This woman got out of her car. She came in. She looked at me. She smiled. I smiled at her like I'd smile at anybody. And because I smiled at her, she said to me, you'd be so good doing what I do. And I'm like, oh, thank you. I said, but no thanks. I said, I do know who you are. And she said, you do? And I said, yes. I said, you're my Mary Kay beauty consultant. And she said, I am? I bought so little makeup from her that she didn't know who I was. It was so funny. And she said, well, what's your name? And I said, Lisa Madson. And she said, well, I'm going to remember that. And I thought to myself, you go right ahead. I don't care. I'm not interested. But long story short, what happened was I ran out of my foundation that I had been using for years. And I called her up and I said to her, can I get some foundation from you? And she said the words that changed my life. She said, can I just come over and talk to you for an hour? And I thought, fine, I'll let her come over. She came over to my house 2 days later. I was going to listen politely, and then I was going to politely say no, thank you. And within the end of that hour, I was filling out the paperwork to become an independent Mary Kay beauty consultant. So that was my start. What was the reaction of my friends and family? Well, let me share that with you. First off, my husband came home from school that day. He knew she was coming. He knew I was going to say no. And he came home from school. And I do have to tell you, 1 hour, I am pretty impulsive, but I was in shock at what she had told me. That's why I became an independent Mary Kay beauty consultant, because I was shocked at what she said Mary Kay had to offer. So anyways, he came home from school. He knew I was saying no. He felt real safe leaving the house that morning. And he came in and I met him at the door and I said, guess what? He said, what? I said, I'm becoming a Mary Kay beauty consultant. And he looked at me and he said, you can do it. Just don't expect any help from me. And I thought, well, I was a blessing. I'm so excited. Then I called my parents. I was 26 years old at the time, you guys. I had never gotten pregnant without calling them to see if they thought I should. My mom answered the phone and I said to her, guess what? I'm becoming a Mary Kay beauty consultant. My mom said to me, oh, Lisa. She was not happy. My dad wouldn't even talk to me about it. And that really hurt, you guys. I was 26 and had never really done anything that would not bring approval from my parents. And so it was hard to hear their reaction. But to this day, I have to tell you, I'm so grateful I did it, even though they didn't want me to. My mom passed away 3.5 years ago. And if I had not been in Mary Kay, I maybe wouldn't have been able to be by her bedside. I moved into their house thinking it might be a month. It turned out it was only 4 days. And then I stayed for an extra week afterward to spend the time with my dad. That freedom that I built because of my business, that's a blessing that not everybody has in their life. And my dad was even going to join the Google Hangout tonight. So hi, Dad, if you're on. And then the third reaction I want to share with you too, because this is really an interesting reaction. It was from a former Mary Kay beauty consultant. And I'm always shocked why people go to someone who did not succeed at something to ask for their feedback. But that's exactly what I did. I went to my friend who had sold Mary Kay and quit, and I asked her if she thought I should do it. She gave me a lecture, reminded me that I couldn't even sell band candy back in high school. So what would make me think that it would be very good at this? And so I almost listened to her. It really was frustrating. But I decided not to, because I thought, you know what? I'm the one that's going to go hold the parties. I'm the one that's going to do the work. So why am I taking advice from people who really I don't want to trade places with? Long story short, I want to fast forward. She was my first team member in Mary Kay. And she became my first Offspring sales director, which is a leadership position. And she became my first Offspring independent national sales director a 1.5 years ago. I always tease her to this day and I say, had I listened to you, we'd both be broke today. So that was my beginning. And when I started selling the product that first week, I held 4 parties and a facial, and I sold $682. So I knew for me, I was in the right place. So Carol?
Oh my gosh, isn't that so exciting? I love it. I'm sitting here just smiling with them, hearing the story. Isn't it interesting though, how our stories are so different and yet some of the similarities are there too. She started in a completely different place in Wisconsin, and here I was in California. She was 26 with 2 babies. I was a brand new newlywed with 0 kids, been married 4 months. So my consultant met me kind of randomly. My little sister, who's 8 years younger than I, was spending the night with a girlfriend. She came over to bring her home, and I was home planning my wedding. And when she came to the door, I said, oh, thank you. And is your name Mary Kay? Because she had a Mary Kay pin on her lapel. And she goes, no, but I teach skincare with Mary Kay. I'd love to offer you a free facial. And I went, no, really. I'd gone to a dermatologist my whole life, and I thought her grease on top of my grease, I'll just say no politely. Well, the next thing I found myself having a facial the next morning, and purchased the product because I thought it had a money-back guarantee. Heck, I mean, I'll buy anything with a money-back guarantee. So here I was. And then she proceeded to call me each month, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times each month. And I proceeded to say no. Not my, no, thank you so much. No, I'm gonna get a real job. I'm gonna change the world. Well, then I talked to Mike, and he said, absolutely not. I go, no. I think I'm thinking about this. And he said, what? You don't even know anybody, because we had just moved after getting married, and I didn't know anyone except for my in-laws. He was right. He said, you don't even know your way around the area. I go, well, I can learn. He says, you know nothing about cosmetics. I says, I know, but I just graduated from college. I have a degree. I can learn anything I choose to learn. And so he walked out of the room and said, whatever. And I proceeded to go over the phone and call that gal who pursued me. And that's how my illustrious career began. And he was right. I didn't know anybody. And my very first party was $9. I was not the whopping successful start that Lisa was. And yet something magical happened at that party. I fell in love with Mary Kay Cosmetics. I saw women who thought first this was going to be a really dumb idea, and they were just appeasing me and saying, oh, sure, I'll come, and then I can get out of here. But they loved it, and they felt pretty, and they were having a good time. And all of a sudden, you got to remember, I got my degree in college in psychology, and I think there was more psychology in those jars than there was ever in the books. But anyway, I remember feeling, I love this. And I don't know what it takes to get to the top, but if this is how good this feels, I want to keep holding parties, selling product, building a customer base, and sharing with other women. And sure enough, that's what I decided to do. I fell in love, and it's been history ever since. Golly, in I think it was 16 months, I became an independent sales director with Mary Kay. Ups and downs for sure along the way, but I always say they don't define you, they refine you whenever you have a little bit of a setback. That's a little bit about my career. And then I started having babies. I didn't work another full-time job, but I still started having babies, and loved the flexibility of Mary Kay, because then, as Lisa said, you can be where you want to be when you want to be there with no requirements put on you, because you're an independent contractor with Mary Kay. And that I so appreciate and love. So that's a little bit about me and my story. I think it'd be great to talk to you about how you can create financial independence. What do you think? Huh?
I think it sounds great. So what we're going to do now is we're going to share the avenues of income with you, just so that you understand how we do make money in Mary Kay. And so the first way is by holding parties and facials. And the way it works is we buy the product for $1 and we sell it for $2. It's plain and simple. So when I told you that I held 4 parties my first week, a party is a hostess plus 2 people on up to 6. That's usually about what we recommend. Mary Kay Ash wanted it to be an intimate setting. She wanted people to feel special. In fact, she told us that everyone should have an invisible sign around their neck that says, make me feel important. That's what Mary Kay wanted for us, to have everybody feel that way. So that's why the parties were smaller, anywhere from the hostess plus 2 people on up to 6 around the kitchen table. And so I held 4 parties that first week. And as I said, I sold $682. $682. And like Carol, she said she enjoyed it. Not me. My first party, I stood up there. I shook like a leaf. There were 4 people. I was dying, and I hated it. I literally hated it. And I went and did the individual private consultations to go over what, ask them what they wanted. And they bought $156. Now I needed money. And I said to myself, you're going to learn to like this. And not only have I learned to like it, I have learned to love the business. So that first month, I held 13 parties and sold just over $1,800. And remember, my big dream was $70 a week. Just imagine that. So selling the product at parties and facials, that's one of the simple ways. That's avenue of income number 1.
Okay, now I just have to say something, because this was 26 years ago. And I know when I started my business 40 years ago, that classic basic sold for $20. Today, that same classic is 3 times the amount. So that $1,800 in sales, you can just triple that and see where that puts you. She was making some cash.
Exactly. It's crazy when you think about it. Just by selling the product, it works. So, okay. The next avenue of income is reorders. And I think you were going to talk about that.
Yeah, I love the reorder business because in my first year, I built 350 clients. And to realize that this is a consumable product, they're going to run out, they're going to need more, just like food. You buy it every day. And so it's not a one-time sale. And if you will take care of your customers, they will take care of you financially for a long, long time. In fact, I'll never forget Mike one time saying, after he realized that I was doing pretty well, he realized and he said, you know what, if you will just build 100 good customers, you'll never be able to leave the business because it will never leave you. You'll continue to make money. And how great that he saw that. And that is truly what the reorder business is. And the more you grow your customer base, the more income will come from that, from the residual, and not having to go out and hold parties, but just staying and servicing your customers. So it's a great avenue of income.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And the next avenue of income we want to talk to you about is actually sharing the Mary Kay opportunity. And as I said earlier, we choose who we work with. So again, take it as a compliment. In fact, thank your beauty consultant and say, boy, you must really think highly of me, or you wouldn't have had me watch this. The way it works is we get paid a commission from Mary Kay. And the way it works is we make 4% or 9% or 13%, depending upon how many team members we have and depending upon if we order product during the month. And so that's how it works. So we're very blessed to be able to do that. And, you know, to choose who we work with, and just the more people you have doing it, the more successful you become. So it's just great the way that works out. The other thing is you can earn the use of a Mary Kay career card. And I have to tell you that your director can go into more details on how to do that. But just know that when I was hearing this for the first time, she looked at me and she said, you can earn the use of a Mary Kay career card. And I remember sitting there thinking, yeah, right. Okay, lady. I've never, okay, right. Well, 1 year after I earned the use of my first Mary Kay career card, and 1 year later. And so now, next month is my 29th anniversary in Mary Kay, my 28th anniversary of earning the use of a Mary Kay career card. So really, when you think about it, I want you to think about it. Think about earning the use of a Mary Kay career card and adding up car payments that you have made over the years, because for the past 28 years, I have not made a car payment. So it's exciting when you think about it. And when you think about what would you do with the extra income, maybe you would pay for retirement. Maybe you would, I don't know, save for college educations. Maybe you would put your kids through Christian school, which is what we did with our children. Maybe you would pay for weddings, which is another thing we were able to do. What would you do with the extra money? Maybe you donate it to a church or a charity, your favorite causes. Those are things that we've also been able to do as a result of my Mary Kay business. And of course, not having a car payment for 28 years has certainly added up.
That's right. I love that. Another avenue of income that it's kind of a funny word for a great concept. Mary Kay has a structure, a principled structure, centered structure in our company. And it's God first in your life, career, family second, and career third. God, family, career. And so in order to really make that work and not just talk about it, it is even incorporated into our marketing plan with this word called dovetail. And what that means is if you have an appointment booked and you cannot hold it for any reason, you can, quote unquote, sell it to another consultant and receive 15% of whatever the sales are. So if it's a $200 party, you just made $30 because you had originally booked it. Well, I have to tell you that I remember one time I was having my first baby, and they don't tell you when they're coming. I mean, they just happen upon you. And so I had some parties booked, and I remember that day I was on the gurney and I went, oh my gosh, I've got a Mary Kay party tonight. And I had immediately called a consultant, and she went and held it. And wasn't it great? I was making money while I was having a baby. But that's how the dovetail plan works. And it still allows you the flexibility to put God first, family second, career third. You can call your shots how you want it to be, and it all works. And I appreciated that so much. I have to tell you another way that principle really served me. When my second baby had a brain tumor when she was 2 years old, Lexi, I remember letting Mary Kay know, and she said to me, because it was when Mary Kay was alive, she said, do not leave that baby's bedside. You stay there, and I will go by the chapel every day and say a prayer for you and for your family and for her. And what boss, what CEO, what chairman of the board have you ever had that says, do not come to work until your little one is back home safe? And that happened to have been 2 weeks. You know, that I appreciated, and it really played out, listening and following the principles that Mary Kay put before us. So I appreciated that advantage that we had.
I love that principle too. God first, family second, career third. First off, because I'm a Christian. Secondly, I have a husband and 3 kids. And when my son, who is now he's in his late 20s, but when he was 8 years old, it was right before his 8th birthday, he was diagnosed with insulin-dependent diabetes. And it was 6 months after that diagnosis that all of a sudden he was really, really, really sick. And in the middle of the night, he was going to the bathroom, which is a sign of high blood sugars. And sure enough, his little meter said, danger, call doctor. I will never forget that, ever. And I don't even know if the little meter says that anymore today, but it said it back then. I went running into our bedroom and I said to my husband, Kyle's blood sugars are high. It says danger, call doctor. I mean, I was running around like a crazy person. And my husband looked at me and he calmly said, call the doctor. So sure enough, they said, bring him in. So I went into the hospital that night with Kyle. Dan stayed home with the other 2 kids. And I went home from 2:30 in the morning in the hospital, in the emergency room, until 4:30 in the morning. And that was the longest night of my life because they couldn't figure out what was wrong. And so at 4:30, they finally said, we need to admit him. So at 4:30 in the morning till 8:30, I was awake all night long, just saying prayers, like, you know, just help, you know, didn't know what was wrong, just wanted an answer, wanted to know what could be done. And at 8:30 in the morning, I was supposed to be going to Germany. I was supposed to speak at a Mary Kay seminar for the 10th anniversary of Mary Kay being in Germany. They had asked me at the time, I was the #1 sales director in the United States. And so I was supposed to be the keynote speaker. And at 8:30 in the morning, I called Mary Kay Corporate in Dallas and I said, I'm really sorry, but I can't go to Germany today. I didn't say, is it okay if I don't go to Germany today? I didn't say, hey, I hope you're okay with this. I said, I'm really sorry, but I can't go to Germany today. And I explained what was going on. And I will never forget the response from Mary Kay in Dallas, from one of the employees at Mary Kay at the corporate headquarters. She said to me, how is he doing? How are you doing? Is he going to be okay? And I got off the phone and I crawled into bed with him, which he does not allow anymore, but I did back then. And I crawled into bed with him, and my prayer, just for a moment, changed to a prayer of thanksgiving for this company and for what they stand for. And so, anyways, so I wound up not going to Germany, and it wound up all he had was strep throat. So that was it. And we got amoxicillin, we were let go from the hospital, and there you have it. But I did not go to Germany. And what a blessing to have a company that backs us. We're independent contractors, but they back us 150%.
That's right. I mean, really, even so much as what company gives a birthday card to every single one of their employees every single year, and every single independent beauty consultant, independent sales director, and independent national sales director gets a birthday card every single year. I mean, who does that, really? You know, we've talked about a few things. We've talked about sales. We've talked about team building, dovetailing. Another one is leadership, that when you've proven yourself and your skills as a consultant and you have built the team to qualify, you can then submit a card to go into the management position called leadership, and it's directorship. And then the company gives you a timeline to be able to grow your team to the qualification amount so that you can be a leader in the company. And that's an exciting place to be. It's also exciting to know that you are not hired and you are not fired. And they don't pick if you're qualified to go into leadership. You pick it because you're the independent contractor and you get to decide what your goals and dreams are. So that would be the next avenue of income, would be leadership as a director in Mary Kay. And so if that's something that is interesting to you, that you feel that you're a leader rather than a follower, then just talk to your director. She'll have a proven plan to follow so that you can promote yourself to that position.
I love it. I love it. And what I'm going to do now is we're just going to share a few more things before we end our time here. But one of the things is talking about being appreciated and being recognized. And I guess what I want you to think about your current job right now, your current situation right now. At your current job right now, are they constantly telling you what a great job you're doing? Are they constantly praising you and saying, you know, without people like you, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing? Are they constantly just appreciating you? That's I believe Mary Kay Ash wrote the book on how to appreciate people and how to make people feel special. So if you think about your current job right now, they're not appreciating you, then look at Mary Kay as something that you could be appreciated. You could be praised at weekly success events. If you're out there doing the business and working the business, then there's always that appreciation. I loved my boss. I said, you know, early on that the secretarial job that I had, he would, every day I would leave, he would say, I can't believe you got this much done. He would say, you're the best secretary I've ever had. He would always say that to me. And you know what? It was about a year later, we were visiting, and he said to me again, a year after I quit, he said, you were the best secretary I've ever had. And I smiled and I said, you were the best boss I ever had, until I started working for me. And he looked at me and goes, oh, brother. But think about it, you guys. But he always appreciated me. But it was just him and me. And even when he told me how great it wasn't like when I would go to a success event and there were people cheering. They were clapping. I heard the saying once, how many Mary Kay beauty consultants does it take to screw in a light bulb? 3. 1 to screw it in and 2 people to clap. That's what we do. We cheer for each other. We cheer for our success. And that is what feels so good. And so just that appreciation, if you're not being appreciated at your current job situation, then look at Mary Kay as something where maybe you'd be appreciated. It's a great thing.
The culture of Mary Kay is like none other. The uniqueness of being able to feel so special, because Mary Kay has that saying, make me feel important. Everybody wears that invisible sign, and the company does that. The culture, the community of Mary Kay, people supporting people. That Lisa's right, that, you know, Mary Kay's feeling was, if you have an idea, you only have one idea, and if I have an idea, I only have one idea, but if we share them, we both have 2. Supporting each other. I mean, really and truly, where does that happen? Usually in a lot of businesses, it's, you know, dog eat dog to get to the top. And here, I don't get to the top unless I help enough other people get what they want. Mm-hmm. You know, one of the other advantages is self-confidence. I know when I came into the business, I was not a salesperson. Didn't want to be one. Said no 5 times. No. I got to change the world. I don't want to sell anything. Just didn't feel like it was honorable enough, I guess. And yet I've changed my tune on that. But I also feel it came from not being confident. It was a great excuse. You know, I can't. But really it was, I didn't feel confident. And the only way I was going to gain confidence was to do the things that were a little bit maybe uncomfortable until I learned them. And then once you learn them, then they're comfortable. And I love that self-confidence grows when you have the opportunity to set your own goal, and it's something you've never done, and then you reach it. And it's like, whoa, that was a win. I love it. And that's the thrill of arrival that we get to have any time that we choose to set goals for ourselves in this business. And what comes as a consequence is self-confidence. That's another intangible.
I love that. I love that. That is such a great intangible. Being your own boss, never having to ask permission. That to me is the best. Like I said, I don't think I could ever go back and work for someone who sets my hours and says, you have to be here at this time. You don't even find out, like I said, till Thursday, what my schedule was going to be the next week. I can't even imagine having no flexibility, no freedom, having to have to be there when you need to be. Now, I've worked hard. Oh, believe me, you have to show up to go up. That is for sure. I have worked very hard in this business, and I will never insult your intelligence and act like this doesn't take work. It takes work. It takes effort, but it's fun work. Mm-hmm. And you know, when you love what you do, you'll never work another day as long as you live. I don't feel like it's work. Right now we're doing this, we're working, but it doesn't feel, this isn't hard work. There's some people that go to a job that it's hard, and this can be fun. We have disappointments and things like that at times, but bottom line is the majority, I Love it. It is fun. It is so much fun to see people's success. And I know Carol has said many times, what do you say? Money is the measure of the pleasure
you send into the lives of others.
That you send into the lives of others. And I love that saying because it is so true. And the more people you help in Mary Kay, the more income you are able to make as a result, the more commissions you are able to make as a result. So being your own boss, hard to describe if you've never worked for yourself. But if you were willing to put in time for yourself, I heard John Maxwell say it back in the 1990s. He said, pay now, play later. Pay now, play later. And I paid in the 90s. I worked many, many hours. And I still work quite a few hours, but it's not as many as I was working back then. And it's all at my own choosing. It's all different times. And I love that freedom. Freedom.
That's right. Freedom to choose. And she said, there are disappointments. And well, there are disappointments in anything. I mean, people that go on the freeway every single day to their job, that's disappointing. So, another thing is people say, I don't have time. What I found is that if you don't take time, time will take you. And all of a sudden you'll end up 10 years later and you'll think, wow, really? Is this all I have to show for it? And you don't have to be prepared for a Mary Kay career. Golly, I feel that you get equipped along the way with all the support and the encouragement that you get and knowledge that the company provides for you as well. But to realize that if I don't make a decision to change things, what will change? What do they say? The definition of insanity, to keep doing what I'm doing and expect different results. Yeah. So instead, try it. Why not? Do you realize that about 80 to 85% of the women who are independent Mary Kay beauty consultants have another full-time job? Were you aware of that? And if you're thinking, oh, I just don't have time, it doesn't take 40 hours a week. But if you can give me, from 4 to 10, I bet we could build a really successful career. So think about that, because you'll plan your time and then you'll work the time that you have allotted to give it.
Yeah. And we hear all the time, it's just not the right time. We hear that one a lot. And that one I kind of smile because there will never be a perfect time. In fact, I could give you an excuse that people give every month of the year. I'm not going to give it to you because I hate to put it into your head. But there is an excuse for every month of the year as to why they don't think they can do it. But bottom line is, you guys, there will never be the perfect time. If you wait till all the lights turn green before you get in your car to drive from point A to point B, and you wait for all the lights to be green, that never happens, does it? And it's the same way in Mary Kay. And we teach you time management and how to fit it in. You can fit it in here, you can fit it in there, and just know that the more you put into it, the more you make. If you don't put a lot into it, you don't make a lot of money. That's a simple fact of life. What you put in, you get out. But not the right time. Try it for a little bit, just like Carol said. I love it. Love it.
Right. And sometimes people say, well, I'm not the sales type. I can't sell. And what I usually say is, you're good, because you almost sold me on the fact that you can't sell. And so the truth is that if you're willing to learn the things that you don't know and you want to be successful, I wanted to be successful bad enough that I was willing to learn what they were going to, provide for me and help me in building a successful business. And sometimes people think that they're too shy or that they're not the type. But you know what? It takes all types to sell to all types. I mean, I'm loud and obnoxious, and so I'll be able to relate to the people that are loud and obnoxious. And then those that are more introverted will be able to relate to those. But it takes all kinds. The opportunity is there for anyone who chooses to make life a little bit different for themselves. And confidence will grow, enthusiasm will be at an all-time high, and you'll fall in love with what you're doing. And you know what? That helps to build self-esteem as well.
It's true. And on that note, some people say I'm shy. I'm too shy. I could never do it. And I always like to say, I've never met a shy person that says I'm shy and I love it. I want to stay this way. Usually people want to change that. And Mary Kay can help people with their shyness. It can. I mean, if you do the things you fear the most, the death of fear is certain. And so you can wind up growing as a result of it. Another one I hear a lot too is somebody I know tried it. So she tried it. She wasn't successful with it. I've heard there's people out there that have done it. They didn't do well. You know what? Hey, there are people that quit college. I quit college Would you send your child to me to ask which college she should go to? Bottom line is, it's somebody tried something and it wasn't successful at it, so then you're not going to try. Imagine thinking back to the early part of this conversation when I told you about my friend who had tried it and told me not to do it, reminding me I couldn't sell band candy in high school. Did I tell them already that she's a national sales director today?
Yeah.
An independent national sales director today told me not to do it because she had done it and had quit. So I don't listen to that one. She could wind up being your first team member.
That's right. And then sometimes we wait for all the circumstances to be right. Like maybe you're in college and you're thinking, oh, I have tests to study for, I have requirements. Maybe you're in a sorority and you've got all these, programs that you're participating in. But here's the greatest part, because it's so flexible, that you've got to study for tests. You just don't do any Mary Kay. I mean, no one's going to fire you. There's no requirement. It's your business. You're the boss. And then when you're done with tests and you want to make an extra, couple $100 the next week, then go out and hold a lot of parties. Isn't that great? It's instant cash that you can spend right there on the spot. Maybe you're a young mom and you've got, young children at home and are thinking, well, I'll wait till they get older, till they're in kindergarten. Well, you know what? You could be paying for private education by the time that they're needing it in maybe high school if you got started today, right? Or sooner. And because it's flexible, you just can work it around the schedule that you have already in place. Maybe that you do have another full-time job. Maybe that, and you can work it around that job as well. So no matter where you are, whether it's college, a young mom, a full-time job, retiree, how great that it gives you something else that's fun to look forward to doing, that's your own thing, that sets your own goals and put your stamp of identity on it.
Yeah, speaking of too old or a retiree, it might be, but I don't mean that you're too old. But what I mean is my aunt signed up when she was in her 70s. And sometimes people say, oh, I can't do it. I'm too old. And my aunt was in her 70s. And my uncle, who was a retired judge, told me, my uncle who was a retired judge told me that he said he saved money in doctor bills because this brought my aunt joy. And so that was really cool. That was the thing that was good for them. So you're never too old. You're never too old to do it. That's right.
Another objection that sometimes people say is, well, isn't it kind of saturated? I mean, you started 40 years ago. It was on ground floor. Yeah, let me tell you how ground floor that was. Yeah, it was Mary what? Mary who? It's a little hard to get an appointment booked. But we believed so much in the dream that we kept going. Let me tell you about saturation. As long as there's little baby girls being born, we are never going to be out of business. And you know how I know that? Because today, 40 years later, in my organization, there are some of those little baby girls that weren't even born when I started, that today are independent contractors with Mary Kay, running their own businesses and building successful businesses. So I always say it's never too saturated, ever. Because I know that the population is going to continue to grow.
Very true.
Yeah.
So another one I hear is I don't wear any makeup. And I have to tell you, I bought a lip pot back in 1978, and I was still using it in 1986. And so I wore very little makeup. And really the skincare is the bread and butter of our business. And even so, if you're not big into makeup, bottom line is it's important to take care of your skin. But we laugh today because I have 2 lipsticks that I wear. 2 lipsticks in Mary Kay that I wear. And she has a drawer full of, when they go to her house, I guess somebody said, I want to see the lipstick drawer.
Oh, there's got to be at least 60 in there.
60 lipsticks, her.
Hey, I get them at half price. So,
yeah. You're right. Yeah, and I have 2. I wear 2. I'm really heavy duty into makeup. Okay, so Carol.
Sometimes people say, well, I don't have the money, because the showcase, the starter set does cost you $100 to start in your business, but golly, it's a great value, and it is a tax write-off. And so sometimes we really want to, but it's the reality. We don't have the money. Well, I don't have an extra $100 sitting around either, but I'll tell you what, I mean, if you went through Taco Bell and Burger King and Jack in the Box every single, week, you'd probably have that $100 and you've got nothing to show for it, right? That you've spent. Instead, this is an investment. And so how are you going to find it? Let's get proactive on figuring that part out. Does it sound like something you think you might like to do? To work for yourself and run your own business and be a part of the community of Mary Kay and the culture that you can pass along to generations to follow you, your family, your children. And so then, great, let's be proactive. How are we going to find that $100? I mean, I remember one time a girlfriend of mine said, I know, I'll go to 10 different friends and borrow $10 from each of them. And then for the rest of their life, they can get Mary Kay at half price. I mean, that was a great solution. She was proactive. So you'll figure it out. If you want to do something bad enough, you'll figure it out. You know how I know that? Because we all probably have something hanging in our closet that we couldn't afford, but we bought it. We figured it out, right? Because we're women. We know how to figure it out. So don't let the lack of money hold you back. Golly, $100 can turn into 1,000, can turn into 10,000, can turn into whatever you create. So don't let money hold you back. You're bigger than that.
Love it. Love it. And fear of failure, I know, is another one that people sometimes it stops them because they're just afraid. And all I can say to that is, I'd like you to dream with me for a little bit. I want you to think about 5 years from now. You could look back on watching this Google link 5 years from now, and you could say to yourself, well, I tried it. It wasn't for me. So I'm glad I know, did it, done, wasn't for me, great. Never even have to question it. You tried it, wasn't for you. 5 years from now, you could look back on this and you could say, I did it. I didn't work as much as they did. I didn't become as successful as they did, but I'm happy. I've got reorders like she's talking about. Maybe you hold a class or a party here and there, or maybe you just even service the customers that you built for however long you want to build it. But then you get those reorders and then you get 50% off on your own products, but yet you don't make a lot of money with it. Could be that way if you look back in 5 years. Or you can look back in 5 years from now and you could say, wow, what would my life be like if I wouldn't have done that? Because you did so well. Yeah. Fear of failure, I'd rather see you try it and then know if it's for you, or all of a sudden it becomes your passion like it is for us, and you create a life that you never dreamt that you could have. So fear of failure, I'd rather try and know than wonder forever.
That's right. That's right. And then finally, another objection might be, well, my husband would kill me. My husband would never let me do that. I bet if you let him listen to this, he might change his tune. I remember my husband was not excited. Do you remember I told you my story? Yeah, get a real job, he said. Oh, come on. Cosmetics, boy, sucker born every day. They sure saw you coming. I mean, he was very, not negative. He was very protective. He didn't want me to be taken. And so I just find this, that he'll come around. I mean, you love your husband. He loves you. He'll come around or you wouldn't be with him. He'll come around to your way of thinking. He wants the best for you. He wants to support you. And people say, my husband will kill me. No, he would not. He would be thrown in prison if he killed you. So, but you know what? I've often found that it's a whole lot easier to beg forgiveness than it is to ask permission. So you could just go home and say, honey, guess what? I'm a brand new Mary Kay beauty consultant. Oh, I'm so sorry. No, I'm teasing. But you have so much to offer you, him, and your family by being a Mary Kay consultant. Mm-hmm. So Lisa, I want to ask you, what would your life be like if you had not have become an independent Mary Kay consultant? If you had not that day signed that beauty consultant's agreement, what would your life be like?
Wow, it's scary, Carol, to think about what my life would be like. I probably would be a secretary. I know one of the things that Dan and I had looked at was, I'm a fast typist, so we had looked at me being a court reporter. And so I was going to go to school when I had all 3 kids, and I was going to go to school and become a court reporter. That was prior to Mary Kay, of course. And what happened was, first off, can you imagine me in a job where I didn't get to talk? Like, I wouldn't be able to talk at all. So that would not have been a good fit for me. So I would be probably a secretary, probably working 9 to 5, probably. I know Dan would still be a teacher in a Christian school because he wouldn't have been able to retire at the age of 42 and pursue other dreams that he had. So he'd be teaching. So we'd be very, stuck to the strict schedule of that. And he would have had summers off and I wouldn't have. So I think of our life, and the biggest key is I wouldn't have freedom and I wouldn't have the income to go with it. And some people have freedom, but they don't have income. So even when they have freedom and they don't have a lot of income, they're not able to travel to Hawaii or travel to another part of the country to see their child. I have a son who lives in California, and I certainly wouldn't be able to travel and see him. And he has 3 daughters. And the one baby came out of my starter kit because he met her niece. My son did, and married her niece. And so little Elia was born on Mary Kay Ash's birthday. So my life would be so different. And I hate to think, I literally get, my whole body gets hot and I get chills all at the same time because it's very, very scary to think about that. What would your life be like?
Golly, 41 years ago almost, I signed that consultant's agreement. I was student teaching and finished my college degree, and the next month became a consultant. And in the process of those years, over 15 family members have become a part of Mary Kay Cosmetics. So not only my life has changed, but their lives as well. And so that wouldn't be happening. I think I've always been a positive person, but who knows if where I'd be working. You know, sometimes you can be working in a negative environment, and that's what we pass along a lot of times to our children. I mean, things like the word, I can't afford to get you that, honey. And I've taught my children not to say I can't, because you can choose to do anything. So we never ever said, I can't afford to get you those tennis shoes, for example. Instead, we said, you know what? We choose not to get those now. And that's so much more positive because it doesn't put in other people a negative thought, like I can't do something. So I'm not sure, you know, if I would have still been that way, but I know that the Mary Kay environment nurtured the positive attitude that I have today. It brought me closer spiritually to God. It brought me friends. I mean, we would not be related. Yeah. We're walking around on the same face of the earth and we never would have met each other. Mm-hmm. The circle of friends I have from Florida to Chicago to Wisconsin to California to all across the nation, never would have had a chance to have that circle of friends. That's an intangible. I know today my husband might probably still be working, but instead he got to retire at the age of 49, and because the Mary Kay opportunity was lucrative enough for him to be able to do that. And he would not be here in Hawaii playing golf right now. He's on a golf scholarship. We've often teased. I do believe that, you know, gosh, that the Mary Kay opportunity has provided our family with so much, not just financially, but the intangibles as well. The friends, like I say, the culture, the opportunity to come and go as you please, the freedom. It has been truly, golly, it's, you know, how can you I've been in Mary Kay longer than I was out. I started when I was 22. I've been in 41 years. I'm not sure how life would be. I just am so grateful that it is what it is, and that I was willing to capture the dream, to apply myself, to work, to set goals for myself so that my dream could come true, and that I was diligent in following my dream. You know, I was disciplined enough that I went to work on the times that I had set. So I'm so grateful. I don't know how it would be different, but I know it would be different. I probably would not be making the money I make, would not be driving the car that I drive. Not that that is huge. I wouldn't have been able to purchase the homes that we've purchased for not only ourselves, but for our daughter. We purchased a home, and we wouldn't be able to travel the way we do. I could go on and on and on and on. All I know is I am so grateful that I said yes, because you never know unless you try.
That's right. That's right. And I know Carol mentioned earlier the starter kit typically is $100. That's it, $100. It won't change your standard of living, but it could change your life as it has ours. And so also I just want to let you know that some people choose to get an inventory. That is a choice. It's totally up to you. You can start with nothing. You can start with $225 and be active. You can go all the way up to $4,500. You can start anywhere in between. Decision number one is the $100 decision. Decision number two is, do I want inventory? And if so, how much? And I wanted some. And my husband looked at me and he said, oh my gosh, if you don't make a go of this, we are in major trouble. I said to him, don't worry about it. There's a buyback guarantee. If this does not work, I can send my inventory, not the starter kit, but my inventory back to Mary Kay, and they will reimburse me within a year of my last order. They will reimburse me 90%. And I just have to tell you, it was that gave me the peace. It's that gave my husband the peace. I knew I wasn't going to quit, but I just calmed him down by letting him know there's a buyback guarantee if this doesn't work. And there's a lot of businesses out there, you guys, that you start, you purchase inventory, you rent a building, you rent a building, you sign a lease for years. You don't have to do that. And the inventory is optional, but it's there for you. You make that choice. So talk to the person that invited you to be on this call today, and she will connect you with her sales director, and you can talk to her about any questions that you have. And just know that there might be a special going on. When you watch this video, there might be a special. There can be, and I know right now that the day we are making this in September of 2015, there is a special going on. But check with the person that shared this with you when you do watch this, and see if there is a special going on that you might be able to take advantage of. So
I'm just excited that you took the time to be here today with us, to listen, to hear a little bit more about the Mary Kay opportunity. And I hope that we have inspired you. I hope that our stories have brought something to you to help you to really, truly connect with us in a way that you say, okay, I'll never know if I don't try, and that you've made a decision to be a consultant. That would be the end all be all. I'd love it. So thank you for taking your time. Thank you for sharing yourself with us today.
Thank you. Have a great day.
And do we have a password?
Oh, I forgot. We do have a password. And the password is?
Just so your consultant knows that you listened all the way to the end, here's the password. Hawaii.
Because that's where we are.
Bye-bye now.
Aloha.